on subsidies and propping up the welfare system, rather than delivering the capital investment program, the infrastructure improvement that we've discussed so far in this interview?
Because we are a democracy and governments have to respond to what the people want. Are you suggesting that the food subsidy is bad or the fertilizer subsidy is bad? We know that fuel should not be subsidized, but there's a huge demand from the people.
But there is something called leadership, and I wonder what kind of leadership you've provided when you have increased the proportion of GDP that is spent on subsidies from 1.5% to 2.5% of GDP. What kind of leadership is that?
Leadership is not to run over the aspirations or wishes or desires of the people. Leadership in a democracy is different from leadership in a non-democracy.
India has done well in the macro growth terms in the last 10 years. But what has that really done to change India forever, to make it a sustainable 21st century economy?
Most of the programs are to be delivered on the ground by state governments. Do you realize that the human development indicators of Kerala are as good as any Western country? That's true. Do you realize that the birth rate has fallen in a number of states to the replacement level? These are achievements in education and health infrastructure, in roads, in schools. These are achievements which can't be wished away. But then if you look at Bihar, if you look at UP, if you look at Madhya Pradesh, they are far behind the national average. India is simply not one size fits all.
Well, I've got that message loud and clear.
State governments have to deliver.
I've got that message. Yes. But there is one factor which does seem to unite all of India, and that is corruption. Profound, endemic corruption. To what extent do you think the corruption that we have seen in India, going back many, many years, has actually gotten worse under your government's administration?
I agree there is corruption.
Has it got worse?
I wouldn't say it's got worse.
The Indian public would. Poll after poll tells us that the Indians believe over the last 5 years, 92% believe corruption has got worse.
I found a poll which said 60%, I won't name the country, thought that the corruption in their country had got worse. I don't think we should go by polls.
Well, first of all, I'm talking about 90%. And second of all, just because other countries have problems doesn't mean that you can rest easy with your profound problem.
All I'm saying is, I think, I won't say corruption has become worse. I would nevertheless say the corruption has been magnified. We're now looking at policy decisions on which there can be debate as instances of corruption. And since these have been magnified by some constitutional authorities, there is a widespread perception that corruption has become worse.
Well, they don't really need magnifying when, according to reputable sources in this country, up to 30% of lawmakers, both federal and state, either are facing or have faced criminal charges, many of them very serious.
But that's no different. I mean, if it is true, it's no different from what we read, say, in The Economist or in the Time magazine or in the Wall Street Journal about lawmakers in other countries of the world. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed by that number.
I mean, no, I don't 30%, almost a third of your lawmakers suspected or charged of criminality.
We have cases involving heads of government and heads of state in other countries. Do you want me to give you a list? I don't think these kind of comparisons are relevant. I straight away conceded there is corruption in India. It's a problem. It has to be dealt with.
In quite an important speech not so long ago, suggested that the focus on corruption was akin to the McCarthyite witch hunt in 1950s America. You said all kinds of allegations are made, but we are determined to rise above the noise.
But isn't that true? All kinds of allegations are indeed made.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem in this country is that the allegations tend to be true.
How many allegations have been proved to be true? As I said,
well, I don't know where you want me to begin, but Indians, not me, but Indians will tell you that so many of these allegations are true that no people no longer have faith in the public sector.
See, Indians are 1.3 billion. I'm sure 1.3 billion Indians don't speak to anyone with one voice.
The public, when they are given a chance to vote these days in India, tend to express deep disaffection with the status quo. I'm thinking of this city that we sit in, Delhi, where in the recent state assembly election, your Congress party saw its support crumble. And the new AAP party, which is committed to cleaning out government, to ending the corrupt practices, scored a famous victory. And it seems that you may be, in your party, sleepwalking to defeat in the next national elections if you do not understand what is going on.
We may lose an election, we may win an election. That's not the issue today.
Now, Mr. Modi, the leader of the opposition, makes great play upon his humble roots. He points out that he was a chai wala, a tea server, that his family were very poor. And he says of the Congress, they in the Congress party think it's below their dignity to fight against a poor person who was born in a backward class. They have their prominent surnames, and they feel it's insulting to fight against those who are known for their work.
Are you impressed by that kind of...
Well, is that the election that we face today?
The Congress party, in its history of now over 128 years, boasts of a long line of leaders who had even humbler beginnings.
So why does it look like your party has lost touch?
We have been in office for 10 years. There have been mistakes. There have been successes. There have been setbacks. People will vote and decide whether they want to re-elect us or not.
Maybe part of the problem is that India is changing. A new generation is growing up for whom the name Gandhi does not mean as much as it used to. One leading historian here, Ramachandra Guha, has said, the charisma of the Gandhi family is basically gone. We now hear the voice of a new, younger group of voters who don't remember the sacrifices, real or imagined, of the Gandhi family. Do you think that is true? And do you think Rahul Gandhi, who nominally, even though his mother won't acknowledge it, is the leader of the Congress effort in the coming election, do you think that Rahul Gandhi is going to be the Gandhi who actually finds the family name no longer works?
Who can predict the future? Rahul Gandhi is young. He's now been named the leader of the election campaign. He may lead us to victory in 2014. But even if he doesn't, can you assert that he cannot lead us to victory in the next election?
A final question. What India will need after this coming election is a set of leaders who can close the gap between India and the most powerful emergent economic nation, China.
Absolutely.
Is it going to find those leaders?
Absolutely. We have to find not only that set of leaders, we'll have to also fashion a set of policies that will close the gap, given the difference in the two systems, and therefore the difficulties of decision-making and enforcement in India compared to China. I have been saying this again and again and again.
But your record would suggest that it may not happen.
No, I don't. I was finance minister sitting in this very chair between 2004 and 2008 when we recorded 9% plus growth. And if we had grown at 9% for the remaining years thereafter, we would have closed the gap with China.
And you didn't.
We didn't, and I told you the reason why.
Well, we have to end there. But I thank you very much.
Before that, could you have such a conversation with the finance minister of China? I leave it there.
Chidambaram, I thank you very much for being on our
Thank you very much.